Wait, don't go. Her voice trembled as I turned back. Snow was falling harder now, glistening under the porch light. My daughters stood behind her, eyes wet, clutching the photo album I just gave them. Drew's car door slammed shut behind me. "You shouldn't have come here, Dylan," he shouted. Lisa's eyes met mine, angry, afraid, but still familiar. I stood there in that red suit, the fake beard half hanging, and realized this wasn't a Christmas miracle. It was my last chance to be their father again. My name is Dylan Scott. I'm 45, a car mechanic living on the outskirts of Seattle. I fix engines for a living, but my own life, it's been broken for years. No family, no laughter, no Christmas tree. 15 winters have passed since I last saw them. People say time heals. It doesn't. Time just buries the pain beneath layers of dust and silence. But when snow fell again this year, something inside me shifted. It felt like a sign I'd ignored too long. Tonight, I drove through the same streets I once called home. Lights shimmered in every window, families laughing inside. I slowed when I reached that old house with the leaning mailbox. I parked and sat there, watching the snow cover my windshield. My hands shook, not from the cold, but from what I was about to do. In my wallet is a worn photograph, Lisa, Therese, and Emma smiling in front of a Christmas tree. The colors are faded, but it's the only thing that's never left me. I whisper to myself, this year, I'm going home. And as I step into the snow, I feel it again. The weight of guilt, hope, and love colliding in my chest. Somewhere ahead, behind those warm lights, waits the family I lost, and maybe a chance to make things right. It was Christmas Eve, 15 years ago. The house smelled of burnt candles and anger. Lisa's voice cut through the walls, sharp, trembling. "You're drunk again, Dylan? In front of the girls?" I wanted to answer, to say something that sounded like love, but the words came out slurred and hollow. Therese stood by the stairs, clutching her sister's hand. Their eyes, wide, scared, watched me become someone they no longer knew. I slammed the door before I could see them cry. Snow was falling, soft and silent, but nothing inside me felt calm. The bottle in my hand was half empty, or half full. I didn't care. I started the car, the headlights cutting through the dark, and drove without knowing where to go. Somewhere far from the noise, far from myself. I don't remember sleeping, only waking up to guilt. The next morning, I showed up at Lisa's sister's house with gifts in the trunk and shame buried under fake smiles. "Merry Christmas," I said, pretending everything was fine. The girls ran to me. Therese hugged my leg. Emma laughed, her voice small and sweet. "Let's go home," I told them. The road shimmered with ice. The car heater whispered warmth, and for a brief moment, I felt like their father again. But then, headlights, too bright, too fast. A scream. The world spun, metal bent, glass shattered. When I opened my eyes, the air reeked of gasoline and blood. Emma was crying. Therese was shaking. Someone shouted, "Call 911!" And I realized I was the reason they were hurt. In court, Lisa never looked at me, her hands clenched around a photograph. When the judge said, "Guilty," she whispered, "You'll never see them again." And then she walked away. The sound of the cuffs snapping shut stayed with me longer than the crash itself. That cold metal bite, that was the moment I stopped being a husband or a father. They say time heals. It doesn't. Time only teaches you how to live with the ache, and sometimes the one who caused the wound never heals at all. When I got out, the world had moved on without me. Seattle felt colder, emptier. I rented a small house near the industrial district, nothing more than a room with a bed, a radio, and silence that pressed against the walls. I found work at a local garage, cheap pay, long hours, but it kept my hands busy and my mind from falling apart. Every night, I'd eat the same dinner, canned soup, a piece of bread, and a memory. Sometimes I'd pour a drink, but I never finished it. I couldn't. The sound of breaking glass still lived somewhere in my head. I wrote letters every Christmas, short, simple things. "Merry Christmas, love, Dad." I never wrote much. What could I say to daughters who weren't allowed to answer? I'd slide the envelopes into the mailbox. Yes, watch the snow cover them and imagine them arriving somewhere warm. But a week later, They always came back. Return to sender. Same handwriting. Same ache. The years bled together. One winter after another, quiet and gray. My hands grew rough from work, my hair thinner. I learned to live without expecting anything good, but I never learned to stop missing them. Sometimes I'd pass by the photography shop on 6th Avenue, the one near their old school. The owner would hang pictures of local events in the window. I'd stop there on my lunch break, pretending to tie my shoelaces just to look. Therese appeared first, maybe 12 or 13 then, standing at a science fair, holding a medal. A few years later, Emma, smiling in a cheer uniform. Each photo hit harder than the last. They were growing up, becoming women. And I was still just the man on the sidewalk. Once, the shop owner caught me staring. He said kindly, "Beautiful kids, huh?" I nodded, forcing a smile. "Yeah, the best." I walked home that night and sat in the dark for a long time. The house didn't echo anymore. It didn't need to. The silence already knew my name. 15 years of nights like that, 15 years of sending letters into nothing. And still, every December, when the first snow fell, I'd whisper the same thing to myself, the same fragile prayer. Maybe this year they'll remember me. The first snow came back to Seattle after 15 years. I was fixing an old pickup when the radio said, "A rare white Christmas expected this year, the first major snowfall since 2010. My hands froze mid-air. Snow. After all these years, it felt like the past knocking on my door. That night, I searched their names again. Lisa appeared in a charity photo standing beside a man, Drew Miller, polished, confident, safe. She deserved someone who didn't break things by loving them. I smiled faintly. It hurt less than I thought. Still, I couldn't stop thinking about the snow. What if it was a sign? The next morning I went downtown. A thrift shop glowed with tired red lights. Inside, a Santa suit hung by the window, cheap felt. Missing buttons, but the perfect disguise. The clerk asked, "You planning a party?" I almost laughed. "Something like that," I said. Back home, I laid everything on the table. The suit, the hat, the plastic beard. Then I opened a box under my bed, the one I hadn't touched in years. Inside were pieces of the life I lost, a toy car, Emma's drawing, and the family album Lisa once made. The cover was torn, but the smiles inside were whole. I closed it, slid it into the bag, then added the rest. A used game console I'd fixed, a new iPhone I'd saved for months to buy. They were just gifts, but to me, they were a quiet apology wrapped in ribbon. As I zipped the bag shut, I whispered, "One night, Dylan. Don't run this time." Outside, the snow kept falling, soft, endless, almost like forgiveness. The house glowed with warm light when I reached the porch. Through the window, I saw Lisa at the table, Drew pouring wine, the girls laughing. It looked like the life I once had. Only now, I was just a shadow outside the glass. The red suit felt heavy. The beard scratched my skin. I gripped the bag tighter and pressed the doorbell before my courage slipped away. The chime echoed inside. Then the door opened. Ho, ho, ho. My voice cracked halfway through. Emma gasped, her eyes wide. "Mom, it's Santa!" Lisa's smile was polite, uncertain. "Good evening. Can we help you?" "Special delivery for the Scott family," I said, holding out the bag. Emma ran forward first. I handed her the game console, wrapped in gold paper. "You've been very good this year," I said softly. She squealed, hugging the box. Then I turned to Therese, taller now. Her eyes sharp, cautious. I handed her the iPhone. For a second, our fingers touched. She froze, studying me. There was a flicker of something. Not quite recognition, but close. Lisa folded her arms. "Who sent you?" I forced a laugh. "Just spreading a little Christmas joy." "Did Drew arrange this?" she asked again. I shook my head. "No, ma'am, just doing my rounds." Before she could speak again, I brought 2 fingers to my lips and whistled Jingle Bells, the same tune I used to hum while putting the girls to bed. The sound lingered in the hallway like a ghost. Lisa's expression faltered. Her lips parted, but no words came out. I nodded once and stepped back. "Merry Christmas," I said quietly, turning toward the snow. Emma called after me, "Wait, you forgot your hat." But I kept walking. Behind me, the door closed slowly. Through the window, I caught one last glimpse. Emma smiling, Therese still staring toward the door, brow furrowed. Their laughter faded as I walked down the street. The snow fell harder, each flake landing on the red fabric of my coat like tiny pieces of forgiveness I hadn't earned. For the first time in 15 years, I'd been inside their world again, even if only as a stranger in a borrowed suit. Drew's car pulled into the driveway just as I reached the corner. I almost kept walking, but something stopped me, the weight of that last gift still in my hand. I turned back. My footprints were the only ones on the snow. I rang the bell again. The door opened halfway. Lisa stood there, coat on, purse in hand, ready to leave. She looked surprised, almost annoyed. "I forgot one last present," I said quietly. My voice trembled under the fake beard. She frowned. "For who?" "For you." I reached into the bag and pulled out the old photo album, the one with worn corners and memories pressed between each page. "I don't have much left," I whispered. "Only these memories, and the mistakes that came with them." For a moment she didn't breathe. The way she looked at me, it wasn't confusion anymore. It was recognition. "Dylan," her voice cracked. "Is that you?" The silence after her words was deafening. Even the snow outside seemed to stop falling. Emma appeared behind her, holding the new game. "Mom, what's going on?" Therese stepped closer, eyes wide. I didn't move. My hands were still shaking around the album. I reached up slowly and pulled off the red hat, then the beard. The elastic snapped softly. The air felt colder on my face. Lisa gasped. Her hand flying to her mouth, Therese whispered, "Dad?" I nodded. "It's me." No one spoke. Not Drew standing at the car, not the girls frozen in the hallway. The only sound was Lisa's unsteady breath, the same rhythm I used to fall asleep to. "I shouldn't have come," I murmured, eyes down. "But I needed you to know I never stopped loving you, any of you." The album slipped from my hand, landing open on the doorstep, a photo staring up at us. Christmas, years ago. 4 smiles, no shadows. Lisa's eyes filled with tears. "Oh God, Dylan." And in that moment, every word, every apology I'd practiced for years, vanished. Only the truth remained, fragile and wordless, standing there between us in the falling snow. Therese was the first to move. Her breath hitched, then broke into a sob. She dropped the phone she was holding and ran straight into my arms. The impact nearly knocked the air out of me, but I didn't care. I held her tight, feeling her shoulders shake against my chest. "Dad," she whispered, just that one word. And 15 years of silence shattered. Emma joined her a second later, throwing herself into the hug. She was trembling, half laughing, half crying. "You really came back," she said, voice muffled in my coat. I tried to speak, but the words came out rough. I never stopped wanting to. Lisa stood in the doorway, frozen. Tears slipped down her face, one after another. She pressed a hand to her mouth as if afraid to let the sound of her crying escape. Behind her, Drew's voice cut through the air. "This is unbelievable. You let him walk in here like nothing happened?" She turned to him, eyes red but steady. "Please, just go." He stared at her for a long moment, jaw tight, then stormed out, the door slamming behind him. The noise echoed, but for once it didn't hurt. It just meant he was gone. We moved to the living room. I sat on the old couch, the girls pressed close on either side. The photo album lay open across our laps. Emma traced a small finger over a picture of her as a baby. Therese smiled through tears at a shot of us building a snowman. "Do you remember this day?" she asked. "I do," I said. "It was the last time I ever got the snowman right." They laughed softly, the kind of laugh that heals more than it hurts. Lisa joined us then, quiet, hesitant. She picked up the album and turned a few pages. Her hand stopped at one picture, our wedding day. She ran her thumb over it, the faintest smile on her lips. For a moment she looked at me, not with anger, not even with forgiveness, but with something gentler. A beginning, maybe. The room was still. The girls leaned into me, the warmth of their hands chasing away years of cold. Outside, snow kept falling, soft and endless. And for the first time in 15 years, I didn't feel like a ghost in their lives. I was home. The smell of cinnamon filled the room. For the first time in 15 years, I was sitting at the same table with my family again. Plates clinked, soft laughter floated through the air, and the snow kept falling outside. I didn't touch the food at first. I just watched them. The way Emma still talked too fast when she got excited, the way Therese smiled with her eyes, just like her mother. Lisa poured coffee into my cup, her hand steady, her eyes softer than I remembered. "Do you remember the last time it snowed like this?" she asked. I nodded slowly. "I remember everything," I said, my voice quiet. She smiled faintly, the kind that carries both pain and peace. "The girls were still so little," she said. "They built a snowman in the yard. You tried to fix its nose 3 times before giving up." We all laughed, small, unsure at first, but real. Therese leaned toward me. "Dad," she whispered, "will you stay this time?" The question hit harder than I expected. I looked at her, at Emma, then at Lisa, who didn't look away this time. "If you'll let me," I said softly. No one spoke for a moment. Then Emma reached out and took my hand. Therese followed. Lisa just sat there, eyes glistening, nodding. Outside, the snow kept falling, blanketing the street in white. The window glowed with warm light, reflecting the 4 of us in its glass, the same faces from the photo album, a little older, a little scarred, but together. For the first time in years, I didn't feel like a guest in my own story. I felt home. They say miracles come in many forms. Mine didn't arrive wrapped in ribbons or prayers. It came quietly, with forgiveness, and the sound of laughter under falling snow.